Hi folks, Doug Ross here with another free bass lesson for you. By the way, I've been posting a lot of written lessons also over at my website, dougross.net, so please stop by there and check out those when you get a chance. But for today I'd like to talk about familiarizing yourself with your equipment. It's very important to know your gear, especially your bass, and I never cease to be amazed by how many students come to me who have no idea what the knobs on their bass do. And so you may have experimented around and found a couple settings that you like the sound of, but if somebody asks you for something specific on a gig, you need to be able to give them that right away and make adjustments on the fly on the gig very quickly. So you should know what the knobs on your bass do, and maybe you never got the owner's manual for your bass or nobody ever explained it to you, but you can figure it out for yourself, and that's what I'd like to talk about today. So what I have here is a standard Fender Precision bass. Well, it was a standard Fender until I made some modifications to it, but if you have a Fender Precision, your bass probably has just one pickup like this and two knobs. And that's about as simple setup as you'll ever see on a bass. If you have just one pickup and two knobs, I can tell you right off the bat those knobs are going to be volume and tone. And that's about all you need to know for a one pickup bass. But I'm going to show you a couple of two pickup basses which get a little more complicated. On my Fender I added a bridge pickup, so I have two pickups, a split pickup in the neck position and a J-style pickup in the bridge position. And I have three knobs, and let's say I didn't know what any of those knobs did. Well, I could start by turning everything all the way down, and of course the bass isn't going to make any sound at that point. But the first thing to figure out is where's my volume knob. So let me play a note and try turning up the knobs one at a time. Okay, I'm getting some sound from this knob, so that must be some kind of volume control. Let me turn that one down and check the next knob. Okay, that one's giving me some volume as well, just by itself. Let me turn that down and try the third knob. No volume from that knob by itself, so that's not a volume knob. But I've got volume from these two knobs. Now the question is, which one's doing what? So let me turn up again. I'll turn these others down, turn just the first knob all the way up. And this is where a tool like a screwdriver comes in handy, something made out of steel that you can tap the pickups with, because the pickups are magnets basically, and they'll respond to stimulus from a steel object like your strings or a screwdriver. So I've got just the first knob turned up, and if I tap the rear pickup now with the screwdriver I don't get any sound, but if I tap the front pickup, the neck pickup, I got a nice thump from that. So that tells me that this volume is controlling this pickup. Now if I turn that knob down, of course I'm not going to get any sound from either pickup, but if I turn the second volume knob up here, no thump from the first pickup, but I get a nice thump from the bridge pickup. So that tells me that this volume controls this pickup, and this volume controls this pickup. Fairly intuitive and very common setup. Now let's turn both knobs up, and of course with two volume controls you can blend the two pickups in any combination you want just by proportionately turning the volume knobs up and down. So let me turn them both up, and to figure out what this third knob does, I'm just going to play one note continuously and listen for what changes. It's turned all the way counterclockwise right now. I'm going to turn it up. It's fairly subtle. I don't know if you could hear that in the video, but I'm getting more treble as I turn it up. With the tone all the way turned up, I get a nice twangy sound, and with the tone turned all the way down, it's a much darker sound. So that's a passive treble cut. It's a passive tone control, and basically all it does is cut the treble if you turn it down. And that's mostly all the features you'll see on a passive bass. By the way, when I say passive bass, I mean a bass that has no batteries in it, a bass that has no preamp. It's basically just the output of the pickups going through some control pots to the output jack. So what you'll usually see in a two pickup configuration on a passive bass like this is volume for one pickup, volume for the other pickup, and a tone control. Or volume, pan, and tone, and I'll explain that with my other bass here. Which is an active bass. I have an active bass that has a few more features to it. It's a little more complicated, but not too hard to figure out. Now with this bass you can see that it actually has the same exact pickup configuration as my passive Fender there, but more knobs. So I still have the split pickup in the neck position and the J pickup in the bridge position, but look, I have 5 knobs now. So again, let's start from scratch, turn everything all the way down. And of course I'm not going to get any sound until I find the volume knob. Usually, the volume is the most important control on your bass. It's the one you use the most. So it's usually the easiest one to grab. So my guess would be the nearest knob is probably the volume knob. Let's see. Sure enough, I'm getting volume by turning that knob up. Now it sounds a little thin and anemic right now because I got everything else turned down. But that's clearly giving me volume. If I turn any of the other knobs on this bass up by themselves, I'm not going to get any volume. So what that tells me is that this bass has a master volume control. Even though it has two pickups, there's only one knob that gives me any volume. So that's the master volume. So how do I get a different sound from different blend of the different pickups? Well, you can again tell what's going on with that by using your screwdriver. Right now I've got this knob turned all the way in the counterclockwise position, and if I again tap the bridge pickup, I'm going to get a nice loud thump, but nothing from the neck pickup. And as I turn this knob clockwise, I'm going to get a louder and louder output from this pickup, and now nothing from this pickup in the fully clockwise position. So what that is not a volume control, but a blend control between the two pickups. I use my master volume to set the overall volume of the bass, and then I use the blend control to give me more bridge pickup or more neck pickup. And when you have a blend control, usually there'll be a center detent. At halfway through the turning radius of this knob, it'll sort of snap into place. And that's the exact halfway point between the bridge only and the neck pickup only. And that's usually a good starting place for sort of an overall blend between the two pickups. So we've got volume overall, and then we've got the blend between the two pickups. Clockwise is neck pickup, counterclockwise is bridge pickup. Now I've still got 3 more knobs to turn up here, so let's see what happens as I just play one note at a time and turn these knobs up. I'm going to start with this knob. It's turned all the way down. I'm turning it up. So I don't know if you can hear that, but it gets very boomy as I turn it up. So that tells me that must be a bass control. And again, this knob has a center detent in the centered position. If I kind of click it into the center detent, it's a pretty neutral sounding, nice full, kind of normal bass sound. Again, the fundamental difference between this bass and the other bass is that this is an active bass, which means that there are batteries in there and there's a preamp built into this thing. Now with an active bass, I have more options than just cutting treble like I did on the passive bass. I can actually boost or cut at very specific frequencies. So that's what's going on with that bass control. If I turn it up, it gets really boomy because I'm boosting the bass. So I'll start with that flat, neutral in the center detent position. Now let's see what goes on with the next knob here, the one in the middle. Getting more sort of pointy and defined. It gets a very punchy sound as I turn it up. It's a little subtler than the bass pickup, but with that's a mid-range control. If I turn the mids up, I get a more defined sound. Right? It's a pretty punchy sound. But I'm going to set that flat again. I just want to hear what the neutral sound sounds like to begin with. Now let's try the third pickup and the third knob, excuse me. And that was bass, that was mids, so you can probably guess what this one's going to be. Trebly and twangy as I turn it up, so that's clearly a treble knob. In fact, just by turning that knob up without even playing the bass, maybe you can hear there's a lot of hiss and static coming out of the bass, and every little nuance, every little string noise and scratchy sound is going to be really exaggerated. So I'd go real easy with the treble knob. I don't usually turn up the treble knob on an active bass, but it's good for cutting treble. When your strings are too bright and too kind of harsh sounding, cutting the treble can be useful. No matter what kind of configuration you have with your bass, it's always good to start from the most neutral setting. So on an active bass, it would mean all these center detent knobs in the center detent position, and your volume just sort of at a medium volume, and then adjust for the room from there. But at least now I know what everything on the bass does, and that's a good starting point. Now in my next video, I'll be talking more about, apart from the knobs and the equipment settings, just how to get different sounds out of your bass using your hands. So look forward to that coming up soon, and I'll see you the next time.